Is the Florida housing market too hot to handle? That is exactly what we're going to cover today because the latest housing market data is in, and we are going to do a deep dive into the housing markets of Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Clearwater, Florida metros. We're going to deep dive into Hernando, Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas counties. We are going to uncover the truth, the actual data that exists, in order to empower you to make the best decisions for yourself, for your family, and for your financial bottom line. And before I get too deep into what the actual data is, and the numbers don't lie, I want to talk about some trends that are happening right now, which terrify me. Recently, I had the opportunity to attend a party, and the party that I was at was filled with friends and family, people that I know, like, and trust, people that run the age gamut from elderly to young. But almost everybody there that was not a child is professionally employed or owns a small business. But the folks that I was talking to that I'm going to cover right now were a little bit younger than me. Most of them are 10 to 15 younger than I am. But given that I've known them and their parents for in excess of 25 to 30 years, I thought I understood what their mentality was around work. And if you happen to be watching this, I'm not putting anybody on blast, but I do want to address some things that concern me about the future of our workforce. Because somebody asked me how I felt about Bare Minimum Monday. And to be clear, I've never heard of Bare Minimum Monday. But evidently, there is a new trend which encourages employees their well-being over productivity at the start of the week. And apparently, this Bare Minimum Monday is taking off like wildfire on TikTok. But given that I'm a dinosaur and I'm not really on TikTok because I don't believe in the platform, and I certainly don't want any Chinese company to have more access to my information than they already do, but evidently, Bare Minimum Monday is taking off like wildfire. And much like quiet quitting, which I also don't agree with, Bare Minimum Monday encourages employees to ease into their work week by doing just enough to get by. Rather than stress over post-weekend productivity, subscribers are encouraged to first prioritize self-care and their mental health before delving into the tasks for the day. And evidently, some TikToker, who I'm not going to name by name, would wake up on Monday really burned out, really unproductive. And because she was so unhappy with how unproductive she was, she made out a long list of things to do. Well, welcome to the real world, sweetheart, because where I come from, there is no such thing as Bare Minimum Monday. And I start planning what my next week is going to look like at the end of every day. At the end of every day, I time block what I need to do for the next few days, and I intentionally time block time over the course of the weekend to ensure I know exactly what's happening for the week, for the month, and for the year. And I update it all the time. There's 0% time that I'm not intentional with. And the idea that I'm going to take a day off or half a day off to get my shit in order is ludicrous. And if that's the mindset of most workers, well, then I want to introduce you to a new concept called unemployment, because you're not going to have a job if you think you're entitled to work at the bare minimum any day of the week. And to be abundantly clear, the people that I was having this conversation with, I took my time on weighing in on how I felt about anything because I wanted to learn what they thought. And these are high achieving professionals that all have good jobs. So I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then I heard about that Bare Minimum Mondays would really help people who experience Sunday scaries. Sunday scaries? Are you effing kidding me? But evidently, the Sunday scaries are a thing. Well, I can tell you they're surely not a thing in my house. And I can tell you Half Day Monday is definitely not a thing in my house. And I can promise you, none of this is ever going to happen on my watch with my children, because I'm going to teach them how to work, and they will be required to have a work ethic. Nonetheless, Sunday scaries are the feeling of intense anxiety and the dread that sits in because they got to go to work on Monday. And I did not intend to go down a wormhole here. And of course, I want everyone to prioritize their mental health and their emotional well-being, but carve out time on your own time to do that. Wake up earlier or stay up later or figure it out. And I'll say it differently. Grow up. You're not entitled to Sunday scaries or bare minimum Mondays. You're not entitled to a paycheck. If you've been given the opportunity to have a job and you don't go into that job thinking, how much can I max out this opportunity? Then you're probably going to be replaced by AI in the near future. You better make yourself indispensable within whatever career path you're on if you want to achieve success, if you intend to fulfill your earnings potential. But all of this is a bunch of bullshit, best I can tell. And all of that mindset is far too hot for me to handle. But let's see what the single family home market looks like in Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Clearwater metros. We're talking about Hernando, Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas counties. Let's see if the housing market is still too hot to handle. And as of the most recent data, which is a month old, we are at the end of April, and this is March data. So it is lagging. And if you want hyper local, accurate, actionable information and need help with an all-star professional who understands what the market conditions are anywhere that you're thinking about buying or selling, then please reach out, because we will connect you with someone who can advocate and negotiate for you the right way if they're outside of my market, and I'd be happy to do it if you're in my market. Nonetheless, closed sales March of 2023 are down 15.4%. Cash sales are down 33.7%. Median sales price on the uptick 1.3% from 390 to 395. Single digit appreciation in this market as of March. I suspect most markets will continue to uptick at single digit appreciation for the next year. Average sales price up 2%, 474 and change to 484 and change. Dollar volume down 13.6%, which is a function of closed sales being down 15.4%. Time to contract is a return to normal, 31 days. 6 days, completely abnormal. It's up 416%. Median time to sale uptick 71.4%. Again, this is a return to normal, 42 to 72 days. New pending sales on the downtick, down almost 9%. New listings on the downtick, down 19%. And please stay tuned, because we are going to analyze the supply side of the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater metro in detail. We must know what the supply side looks like, because supply and demand will always dictate price. And mortgage rates are going higher. Supply must be understood. New listings dropped from 5,080 to 4,117. Pending inventory, meaning the inventory of homes that is under contract as of March, that's on the downtick too, down almost 9%. The active listings sitting on the market, the inventory of homes sitting on the market unsold, upticked big time. It's up 122%. From 2,937 to 6,513 homes sitting on the market unsold in Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater. No bueno if you're thinking about selling, muy bueno if you're thinking about buying. And we're going to cover that in more granularity. Month supply upticked predictably from 0.6 months to 1.8, an increase of 200%. To be clear, that is still a seller's market, which takes us to the historical perspective and the story behind the median sales price. And what you can't help but notice is that in March, it was the smallest percent appreciation over the last 12 months. We're at 395. Year to date, it's up 2.7% at 390. But gone are the days of 18.8, 23, 26, 28, 29, and 30% double digit appreciation as it relates to median sales price. Those days are over in the near term. But if you look at the historical perspective, you also must gain context, because although we're not at the all-time highs of 2022, we're also not too far off what those all-time highs are. But we're a far cry from where we were pre-pandemic in 2019, where you could buy a house with a median sales price somewhere a touch over $200,000. in Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater. Homeowners in this market are sitting on a metric shit ton of equity depending on when they purchased their home. And predictably, average sales price tells the same story, although the terms are a little bit more distorted because, unlike median sales price, which takes the middle term, average sales price includes all the terms. So the high price points are not priced out of the equation. Nonetheless, average sales price is up 2% at 484 and change. Year to date, we're up 4.3% in this market, which is distorted because we're only looking backward. We need to pay attention to what it is in the future. But for now, up 4.3% to 479 and change. But you can't help but notice that 2% is the slowest appreciation that we've seen over the last 12 months. Gone are the days of 18.6, 23%, 26%, 25.5, 24.4, and 22.3. Double-digit gains in terms of average sales price are gone in the near term. But you can't help but notice they're not too far off what the recent highs were. But they're a far cry from where we were in 2019 when the average sales price in the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater market was under 300K. Huge equity jumps for homeowners that bought in this market. And homeowners are feeling equity rich up until they're not. And one of the factors that are going to determine what the supply side looks like are the availability of new listings. And new listings are on the downtick. New listings in this market are in short supply. And you can see year to date, there's a short supply of 15.1% in this metro, 19% in March. And if you look over the course of the past year, you can't help but notice there's some volatility as it relates to people wanting to sell their homes. But predominantly, there is a short supply. And I suspect that's because most homeowners are not interested in trading up into a 7, 8, 9, 10, 20% new mortgage monthly payment. No bueno. They're real happy under 4%. But time will tell, yet to be determined. What's interesting is that although we are in short supply as of March, we're a far cry from where we were in 2019, where the new listing supply was over 5,000 in most months. But what you can't help but notice is it's coming back to normal fast. And supply and demand will always dictate price. But new listings only tells you half the story. We need to know what the rest of the supply looks like. And that inventory of active listings sitting on the market unsold does not look good if you're thinking about selling in this market. And it looks muy bueno if you're thinking about buying. But I suspect if you wait, it might look even better. Let's see what the numbers reveal. March 2023, up 121.8% in terms of homes sitting on the market unsold in the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater metro. Year to date, that number upticks to 150% increase, with 7,087 homes as the monthly average of homes sitting on the market unsold. But massive gains throughout the course of the year. Massive increase in the supply of active listings, with the only deficit being in March of 2022, which is exactly a year ago. And to be clear, we're talking about March, we're in April, and I suspect these numbers are no bueno, but I suspect it's going to be a long time until the supply side goes anything close to what it used to look like in the recent past. But if we put this into historical perspective and go back to 2019, in 2019, there were 12,000 homes sitting on the market unsold in January, which is a far cry from where we're at in March of 2023. It's basically half that at 65.13. And until that balance becomes more normalized, price will be insulated by the lack of supply. Up until it's not. And month supply of inventory is predictably on the uptick too. And you can see that in March, it's up 200% to 1.8 months. Year to date, it's 1.9, up 216.7%. And gone are the days of zero point 0.6 months of supply. But if we look at history for context, what you can see on the bottom is that although we're at 1.8 months right now, in January of 2019, there were 3 months of inventory. And although we're not at 2 months yet, we are trending there fast. This market is returning to normal fast. And there's tremendous demand from the 1,400 people who move to Florida on a daily basis to live in Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Clearwater. But until this balance is restored, this market is likely to be too hot to handle. But if we analyze the data a little bit further and look at new listings by initial listing price, which is very neatly broken down into price points, what you can see is there is a short supply of new listings in most price points. And there's a deficit in most price points that most people are thinking about buying in or selling in for that matter. But 50 to just under 100 has a short supply of 9.1% new listings. 100 to just under 150 has a deficit of 8.7%. 150 to just under 200, a deficit of 40%. 200 to under 250, a deficit of 46.6. 250 to just under 300, a deficit of 42%. 300 to almost 400, a deficit of 21.8%. 400 to almost 600, a deficit of new listings to the tune of 16.2%. Up until you get into the higher price points, 600 to under a million is on the uptick for new listings by 1%. And $1 million or more, $1 million to limitless dollars, is up 11.2%. That is important information to understand if you're thinking about buying or selling in any one of these price points. But I would argue even more important to understand is not so much the new listings, but the supply of inventory that's sitting on the market unsold in each one of these price points. And what you can see is the inventory by current listing price. And although the lower price points are in a deficit and have changed negatively year over year, the higher price points, the homes that you would most likely want to buy in order to max out South Florida living to the fullest, or in this case, Southwest Florida living to the fullest. But I can promise you the homes in the lower price points, unless you're an investor or a very specific type of buyer, are probably homes you don't want to live in. But the higher price points are on the uptick big time with massive jumps in supply. 200 to 250 is up 19.4% in terms of unsold inventory. 215 homes sitting on the market unsold. 250 to under 300, massive uptick of almost 60%. 458 homes sitting on the market unsold in Tampa, Clearwater, and St. Petersburg. But 300 to just under 400, there's 1,669 homes sitting on the market unsold, an uptick of 175%. 400 to just under 600, an uptick of almost 140%. Almost 2,000 homes sitting on the market unsold as of March. 600 to just under a million, 1,184 homes sitting on the market unsold in these metros, up 156%. And $1 million or more, the luxury homes that are $1 million to infinity are up 123.3%. 902 homes sitting on the market unsold, $1 million or more in Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater. No bueno if you're thinking about selling. Great news if you're shopping for a deal. And we want you to get the best deal possible. So if we can help in any way, please reach out. Which takes us to the grand finale of the distressed sale market that exists or perhaps doesn't in the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater metro. And we've got to be totally aware and cognizant of the fact that distressed sales are what unhinged the market the last time. And this time is different in that homeowners are sitting on significantly much more equity. They've got much more skin in the game. They are invested very differently than they were during the last crisis. But during the last crisis, it only took 10% of the overall market, I'm talking about on a national level, of 10% of that market to be in distress to drive prices down again on a national level, down by 30%. So distress sales must be watched, it must be monitored, and you must be aware that it will definitely change over time. But distress sales take 2, 3, 5 years or more to actually materially impact values within the real estate market. So we got a long time to go before this becomes anything worth talking about. But nonetheless, we are going to cover it here. Foreclosures are up 28.6%. There were 18 versus 14. And those numbers are too small to be meaningful or have any real material impact on prices. But if you look at the state of Florida, and I covered that in a separate video, you can see that short sales and distress sales are a non event as of March in 2023. Short sales on the downtick, down 70% from 10 to 3. They are a non event in this market up until they are. Now, I hope you found this content valuable. And if you did, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend. If we can ever help you in any way, shape, or form, please reach out because we would love to help. And check out my next video because I suspect you will love it a lot. And please stay tuned because I will cover every metro within the state of Florida as soon as I possibly can. And until next time, peace.